Yes, sir. We're officially back at it. This is Boog Nice coming at you with the Marvel Legends Age of Apocalypse series Sugarman Build-A-Figure Wave Morph figure review. Let's do it.
This ain't for no scalper. You a scalper? Then fuck out shit. This one's for them real collectors. That's army building and posing figures. Marvel Legends, imports, mini matey, I'm fucking with them. Hype beast, we know about you. Stay buying figs, don't know about it.
And a quick look at the artwork on the side of the box. It is the same on the left and the right flap. 7 figures in the wave. You're going to need all 7 figures to complete the Sugarman Build-A-Figure. Alright, here we go. Kevin Sidney, aka Morph. His bio on the back of the package reads, "A natural mimic, Kevin Sidney transforms himself into any shape at will." So Morph was created by Roy Thomas and artist Werner Roth. The character first appeared in X-Men number 35 in August of 1967. That was the 616 version of Morph, who was actually called Changeling. He still had the shape-shifting abilities as Changeling, and originally he was an adversary of the X-Men, but he actually ended up helping Professor X out and doubling as Professor X for some time. Then he was killed. The X-Men thought that Professor X got killed, but they found out it was Morph, and Morph was actually helping out. So he kind of went out as a hero. He's actually listed as the first X-Men to die in action. After the Changeling persona, we saw Morph again during the 1990s as part of the animated X-Men team. He seemingly died in the X-Men animated series too, but then it was determined that he didn't actually die, and he was kind of like a villain for a moment. And they had the Morph with the bags under his eyes. He was looking like a dope fiend for a while. But as it relates to the comics, he was introduced in the comic books again as an alternate universe version of himself, and he actually started the Exiles alongside Blink, and that team was like a reality jumping crew that was trying to correct like ripples in times and I guess inconsistencies in the space-time continuum or something like that. So we've seen Morph in quite a few different iterations, and then finally his AOA persona was pretty much identical to his 616 Changeling persona, except that he never died impersonating Professor X. The character has been somewhat like comic relief, and you know, he's a real goofy, wacky character, sort of like Deadpool or later Deadpool, because the original Deadpool was more serious. But you know, because he can change into a lot of different things, he's real goofy. I guess a good comparison would be like Plastic Man from the DC universe or something like that. Morph is packed in with the right leg to complete the Sugarman Build-A-Figure. And other than that, no additional accessories with Morph. So this is a continuing trend with this wave. I mean, Sugarman is a pretty massive, little, short, stocky, nasty, ugly, dense Build-A-Figure. So I understand, and pack it in all of those parts with 7 figures, why they would leave out some accessories with the figures here. But I think there was a couple of missed opportunities here with Morph. Being that he's such a wacky, goofy, comical character, you would think that they would have at least included some more heads and hands with him, so you can kind of represent some of those wacky tendencies and his expressions and what have you. I think it was a missed opportunity to not include an additional head at the very least. I mean, this one expression is kind of tame, it's kind of relaxed for this character. You would think that they would have packed in a head with a big smile or his tongue out or something crazy like that. So that was one missed opportunity. And then getting back to talk about the 1990s X-Men animated series, a lot of people were requesting and inquiring and wondering if a 1990s Morph head would be packed in with this particular Morph. However, I do think that down the line we are going to see a retro carded X-Men wave in the theme of the 1990s animated show, just like the retro wave we are seeing about to surface for Spider-Man. So I think that they have left the possibility of another Morph in that line open, and I think we're going to see that very soon. Also, it should be noted that I'll have that wave, the Spider-Man retro wave, next week, so I'll be looking at that. For the record, his head and hands do pop off. I was trying to take off this portion of the glove. It looks like it's glued on there. I couldn't really pull it out, so maybe with some hot water, some intense heat, blow dryer, something like that, you may be able to pull this off and reuse it. You customizers and kit bashers out there. So I do think they picked a good body mold for Morph. My other gripe, aside from the fact that he doesn't have any additional hands or heads, is this cloak and the way it kind of sits. It can be plugged into his back, but it's kind of loose up around the collar, and it's just not the greatest fit, especially if you want to try to get him into some sort of dynamic pose. You know, you're not going to be able to work with this hard plastic. So maybe you might want to think about doing something, a soft goods piece or some other customized piece to put on them. So good body mold here though, great articulation on this buck. It looks like it's the Spider-Man 2099 buck. I don't think this is the Bullseye buck. It looks a little taller and slender, so I'm thinking Spider-Man 2099. So in terms of articulation, head's on a ball joint. He's going to look down pretty far. You'll get him to look up pretty far as well. You can get some pivot on there, turn left to right. There is no issue moving the head around. Shoulders on a ball joint, they're going to come up pretty far. You can do a full 360. There is a butterfly joint there. There is an upper bicep swivel. There is a double jointed elbow. It's hindered a little bit by the cuff of the glove. Swivel and a hinge on the wrist. Ab articulation moving forward, looks like that. Back looks like that. You can rotate them at the waist. T-joint at the pelvis. Legs going to come up that far. Split's going to look like that. Upper thigh swivel, double jointed knee. You get rotation at the upper boot. You get a hinge and a nice deep pivot on the foot. So like I said, great articulation, but with such great articulation, some extra hands and heads are surely missed. All right, size comparison time. I figured I'd knock out the comparison with his wave mates first, and you know, the other characters from the AOA universe. So going left to right, we have Weapon X, X-Man, aka Nate Gray, and then Sunfire, and then Jean Grey. You can see how all of those stack up. Looks like Sunfire and Morph are on the same body mold. Again, I'm thinking this is originally was the Spider-Man 2099 buck. I will break out Spider-Man 2099 to do a comparison to be sure. All right, so I broke out the Man-Thing Build-A-Figure Wave Bullseye on the left and Spider-Man 2099 from the Sandman Build-A-Figure Wave because I was torn between the two, wasn't sure which body Morph was on, but it looks like it is the Spider-Man 2099 buck. The Bullseye buck is just a tad bit shorter and the chest is a little wider. And now that I'm looking at Morph, I'm thinking that he is pretty much the same as the Sauron Build-A-Figure Wave Mad Jack Deadpool with a few little alterations here. And some more AOA related characters here. So his wave mate Wild Child on the far left. And then I broke out a Blast from the Past and the Toy Biz Giant Man Build-A-Figure Wave AOA Sabretooth, who is really small. Obviously, once Hasbro redoes this Sabretooth, he'll be much larger. But this was a very oddly proportioned figure with a terrible head sculpt. And then we have Blink. So Blink was actually part of the AOA universe, but she was also a team member with Morph on the Exiles. Blink and Morph were actually the two characters that kind of remained on the team, as it had like a rotating, ever-changing roster as characters died, and then they were replaced with new characters. Exiles is actually a pretty interesting book. The original team though was Blink, Mimic, Nocturne, T-Bird, Morph, and Magnus. And then on the right is the Hasbro Nemesis or Holocaust, and like I mentioned, I'm pretty sure that they're gonna do Nemesis again, Hasbro is. And one final comparison and I'm gonna get up out of here. This is the Gamerverse Abomination Build-A-Figure, which is a massive, really nice Build-A-Figure on the left here. I broke him out because I was thinking about T-Bird from the original Exiles team, who was really big. It would be nice to get that original team in figure form, but again, the team changed so much, has so many different members that you'll probably put together one of the later teams before the original team. I don't know that they'll do Mimic or Magnus. Those are like really obscure characters. We'll probably get a classic Angel before we get a Mimic. So, and then on the right is the Walmart exclusive Black Widow. And it should be noted that because Morph is a shapeshifter, you could pretty much just pop his head onto any other body and do some funny little odd things. When I saw the Pirate Deadpool that's going to be released and the Strong Guy Build-A-Figure Wave, I was like, oh, that would be a cool little funny thing to do with Morph and turn him into a pirate and turn him into a woman, and so many different options that you'll have for Morph for sure. Definitely going to see a lot of interesting, innovative, creative ideas with Morph and toy photography and A.C.B.A. moving forward. I'm looking forward to that, but I am looking forward to them maybe giving us a different head sculpt somewhere, somehow down the line. But I really do actually like this figure. This is one of the better ones from the wave, I think. And thanks for hanging out. As always, don't forget to rate, comment, and subscribe. Hit the bell down there. And until next time, peace.
That's crispy.